back out and ask a few questions of our panelists. Have a think for a moment if you have a question, if you're here, and also do use our hashtag if you want to hit us up on Twitter. I'll kick it off first. Algimantas, with your tester program, help me out on this one. Let's say, for example, right now, if I had, say, an Estonian registered car, for example, and I went and got a parking fine in Lithuania, is that parking fine being delivered to me across borders?
Be sure about that. No doubt.
No doubt. Okay, I'll take you for that word. I'll have to try and test that one day. Do we have some questions out there in the audience right now? We do. We have a lady down the front here. Just someone's coming to you in a moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I really enjoy your presentation because it's touching a point in your last slide regarding the European exchange of social security information. And I was the project manager until a couple of days ago. And I wanted to ask you, because we speak about a new digital European platform, how do you envisage in Lithuania to use the cross-sectorial for Estesta?
Thank you. Cross sectors, it's, I think, the hardest way, because we doesn't like to share our information with the neighbors, the people who are right next door. But in TestNG, or the example of that, we called it, as I mentioned, as a main thing is a trust. If we create an environment where we can trust each other, the information will be secure and useful and simple for the users. I think with that environment, with that technical interoperability, we can go much further. So it's, for me, for my example, as we speak back in my country with these institutions, the thing is, like I said, if I trust another sector, I will change information. If not, no.
Okay, so coming back to the trust issue there, I thought it was very funny you said at the front that what we do is we'll trust the guy in the next country, but we won't trust the guy who lives next door.
Yes, that's for sure.
It's an interesting social challenge that I think might be common to a few different countries. I have some questions from the floor. We have a gentleman down the front here, over this side here. Sorry, sir, could you put your hands up again? Down here, thank you.
Hi, I'm Trace Gunch from NATO. This question is for Lefteris and Stefan. As you increase your number of multiple data sources, there's increased risk of conflicting data and expiration of data. Have you guys looked into the use of data stewards to identify authoritative data sources, relevance and priority and currency of those data inputs?
Sorry, I didn't really get your question. The sound is really bad at your side. Could you please repeat?
I can try, sure. As you increase your multiple data sources, you have an increased risk of conflicting data and expiration of data. Have you looked into the use of data stewards or other ways of identifying authoritative data sources to deal with the conflict between data sources, make sure your data is relevant to the users, that you prioritize that data and make sure that it's all current?
You have just described our data fusion engine. Indeed, as you have seen, the way how we source it, we mash up the data, and each types of data has its own, I would say, flag of reliability. There's also some timing information stamped in that. And then there are some sources that can actually trump other sources. So indeed, we have merged or evolved in a situation where we have multiple data coming in instead of one stream of information in the past, which was the truth anyway. So now the truth can be diluted, and indeed that's the, I would say, the expertise of the map maker that comes in to actually, you know, come up with the best solution. But there will be a gray zone emerging in that anywhere. But some sources of data can trump others.
Can I also add to this from the top perspective? We don't have a data fusion engine, unfortunately, but that's because it's a different domain. It's administration to administration. So the problem that you're describing is real, and usually in cross-border e-government solutions, there's a mixture of technology and governance. So one of the aspects to address the authoritative source issue is that we introduce a directory, and there the data providers, as we call the data sources, can be declared under some kind of responsibility of the member states that, and to show what data they hold, what data they can provide, and whether that is authoritative or not. And so that's one example that we're trying to, in which we're trying to handle this. Basically, it's with several metadata that can be accessed when we do a request, so then that the requester can decide which of the data they want, or even if they do not want it. For example, some data from the company registers might not be free, and then there might be a choice to retrieve them or not. So there are many factors there that have to do with the data, and we're trying to use a metadata repository, we call the directory, to address at least some of these issues. But we're still investigating this. There are many variations.
Sure, I bet it's absolutely a difficult issue when you come to data integration, and I think you have a difficult problem that you're trying to solve. I have a question here. I will admit I don't understand all the bits of it, but I'm going to throw it out to you anyway and see if you can help the audience. So how can work in ISA actions, such as access to base registers and mandates, power of representation, how can these be better aligned with work with the TORP and feed directly into the solutions developed for the MS?
Well, I have sort of referred to this in my presentation. So these actions are very, very relevant. Access to base registers, this is what we do also in TOP. We are giving access to some of the base registers in the member states from e-government applications in another country. And there is an action which is doing very good work. There is also the action on powers and mandates. I think I referred to that, and that's the data model that we are hoping, and we're contributing with requirements, but also we're hoping that that data model will be available in the lifetime of the project, so that it will be used. Now, there is always an issue about coordinating different initiatives, and particularly when it comes to these actions of ISA, they have particular contract. I know it's difficult to really make changes. A large-scale pilot is usually more flexible because we can, and we have in TOP changed our approach. I think this is by cooperating and by finding all the flexibility potential that is possible, then we can get some common ground and do some good work. So we are very actively engaged in TOP with these actions, and we hope that we'll have more results.
Okay, very good. Just checking to the audience again in case someone had a sneaky question they want to put in. I got lots. I like asking questions. Just checking out there one. If I can't see you, I'm sorry. Stick your hand up. Nice. Up the back. There we are. Yep, go for it there.
Okay. Thank you very much for the presentation. Panos Gredis is my name, European Public Law Organization based in Athens. A question to Luxembourg, to Mr. John Dahl, for the European Legislation Identifier. Practical question. I'm here in Belgium. I would like to see how the implementers in Netherlands implementing the Services Directive, for example. I can get the information in Dutch language, firstly, or in English. A second question, to this ISA project, could other countries than member states, like candidate countries or neighborhood countries, participate? Thank you.
So concerning the first question, the information which is available is in probably in 1 or 2 or 3 languages. That really depends on the country which is providing the information. So that has nothing to do with the ELI project itself. The other thing is interlinking information is now feasible. So yes, you could actually, in a quite fast manner, search how a directive has been implemented in different countries. I know there are students who have tried to do it on a financial level, and they did it within a week. They had information from 2 or 3 countries and in relation with Eurolex, and they could provide some results. So it is feasible, yes.
And I think we had the follow-on, which was also then how applicable do you think this is to other countries? How?
So
non-EU countries.
I think I do have to change my marketing strategy of the European legislation identifier. So yes, it is applicable to Europe if you want, to national, but also to international. So I think European ELI has to change its name maybe at one stage. It is open to a lot of other countries internationally. I know there are a couple out there that are looking into it. I think I heard Japan is in the audience here, so this is a big cry for them to come on, move on to ELI also. So yes, it is open to whoever who wants to move on to it.
Okay, so and mostly right now we've got countries are looking at it. No one's quite got it implemented, but they're very strongly looking at it right now.
So outside of Europe, you mean?
Outside of Europe,
outside
yes.
of Europe, Norway has implemented it. So otherwise, others are really looking into it, yes.
Okay, very good. All right, just double checking there. Do anyone else stick your hand up if we've got one there? I'm a bit blind. Oh, there is some. Sorry, I'm seeing pointing. Yes, we have one there. Thank you. Coming over there.
Yes, hello. I have a question on the ELISA project because I have been reading a little bit about it online and I'm a little bit puzzled as to who participates and who is engaged in this. And also with regard to I didn't understand whether the whole project is agnostic from the point of view of the map providers, whether it includes like open source map providers. The presentation, I think, wasn't very clear on that. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. ELISA is dealing with the geospatial part in the ISA program, and we have our own working group. We deal with our stakeholder. It's composed by member states representatives, which are nominated by e-government representative and Inspire contact point representatives. So we have our program, and we have also these groups steer and guide our program. In this case, I think this was an example of how we want to, how we use Inspire to avoid that the member states have to put the same data available in different format because they have to comply to different directives, and we are not aligning the directive. So I think the benefit of the ISA program is, in our case, is that we are using Inspire in other domains like transport, energy, and so we, on the once-only principle, we are trying to achieve this goal also within the Commission. And I think the most complicated, I'm an engineer as well, I cannot say was the technical interoperability, was the fact that there are communities which are not used to work together, and for the first time there is a geospatial community talking with the transport community that they were working with other standards and with their own principle, and took 6 months, let's say, to define a terms of reference and to make them work together. And then they found the mutual benefit. In fact, the private company participated on the voluntary basis because there was a benefit also from them. Otherwise, they wouldn't participate. So I will invite you maybe offline to speak more about what are our achievements in terms of pilot studies. And we are linking a lot with the digital government. So we are now trying to understand the impact of new technology, blockchain, API, digital platform, and how the government is transforming because of the new technologies. That's also another goal.
Okay, very good. We have to move on in just a moment. I'm going to fire a quick one more to Algimantas here. Testa in Lithuania, inside of your own country, is there room to grow in Lithuania? Do you still have more cross-sector department services to put on board with this? Is this an ongoing thing? Do you think there's room for growth internally inside of your country?
You know, it's this spring there was 18 connected institutions. Now it's already 15, now 18. Okay. And I think with every step forward with that word,
interoperability, there we go.
I think we have a lot of space to grow up.
Okay, so there's still a lot of room to move.
Yes, definitely.
Sure, and I have a feeling that no matter what we might be doing in each member state, that is certainly true. We do need to wrap it up there. As said, feel free to approach any of our speakers when we're having the lunch. That's coming up in a few minutes. We still have a bit to go. So please, one more round of applause for our panelists here today. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate that.